Two ways to lose fat, and one of them is wrong for you right now. And if you keep picking the wrong one, you're going to end up right back where you started. So in this video, we're going to figure out which one is right for you and when you need to switch. Everyone has an opinion on this. Slow and steady is the only sustainable approach, and fat loss has to be sustainable. No, aggressive fat loss is better and more efficient. Why spend more time in a calorie deficit when you don't have to? And they both sound convincing, but that's part of the problem. See, the question isn't which one is right, the question is which one is right for you right now. So let's take a look at both. But before we get into each approach, I want to say something that the majority of people in the fitness industry are too scared to say. Every single decision that you make has a positive and a negative consequence to it. Not just positive and not just negative. Both. There is no magical approach that has all upside and no downside. And if somebody on here tries to convince you otherwise, then run, because they're trying to sell you some bullshit. What we're actually going to do here is figure out which set of trade-offs you're willing to do and make sense for where you're currently at right now. So let's take a look at both. With the steady or slow approach, you can expect to see a smaller calorie deficit. There's less of an emphasis on getting massive movement targets in, and generally there is more flexibility. More flexibility for social events, seeing friends, making mistakes and learning from them, which all in all means slightly slower progress. But what's important to remember is even though the progress might be slower, it is far easier to maintain those behaviors. With the aggressive or rapid approach, there is generally a bigger deficit. There is more emphasis on your movement targets and being in the gym. There is far less flexibility. This means that there is less time to have days off, to be flexible and have social events and go over your calories, and less room to make mistakes. If the aggressive approach is done right, you will get faster results, but the demands on you will be much higher. So here's the thing, slow and steady, the intensity isn't as high, but you'll have to be doing it for a lot longer to see the results. Where with the aggressive approach, the intensity is far greater, but the time that you have to spend in it is not as long. See, neither of these options are better. The most important thing is no matter which one you pick, can you do it and actually stick to it? And really, that comes down to one thing, and that is where you're at right now with your skills. Let me explain. Here's a question, and be honest with yourself. How many times have you tried the aggressive approach? How many times have you tried to lose fat as fast as possible, but it failed? Well, if you're watching this, you've probably tried the aggressive approach multiple times, and it might have worked for a week or two. But then life happened, or the intensity became too unsustainable, or you just hit a wall. Whatever it is, you went back to where you started. That didn't happen because you have a discipline or a willpower problem. It's because you have a skills problem. Fat loss isn't just about knowing what to do, it's about being genuinely good at doing it consistently without it consuming your entire life. Tracking calories, understanding portions, hitting your steps on a hard day, and navigating social situations without completely losing your shit. These are skills, and skills take time and practice to develop. And I know that doesn't sound very sexy, but that is the truth. Now you might be sat there thinking, yeah, he's right. I probably do need to practice my skills. I'm not very good at tracking my calories. I don't get my steps in often. I need to practice. Well, I'm going to show you why during the aggressive approach, your brain is probably actively working against you in developing those skills. This is your brain. Yes, I know I am terrible at drawing brains, but there are two parts of the brain that we're going to concentrate on. This part here is your prefrontal cortex. It's responsible for reasoning, reflection, retaining new information, and it's where new habits actually form. And then deep inside your brain, there's a little bugger here called the amygdala. See, when you do the aggressive approach and you're trying to stay in your calorie deficit, hit your protein target, work out your portions and learn how to track, and also hit your training sessions and get your steps in, you get stressed out, which means the prefrontal cortex switches off. The amygdala, your threat detection system, switches on. It takes over. You shift from being receptive to becoming reactive. When you're in a reactive mode, your brain isn't trying to learn and develop new behaviors. It's trying to keep you safe, and it's trying to go back to what is predictable. And the most efficient way to do that is to go back to what is familiar, which is exactly why people fall back into old behaviours when they're under pressure. It's not because you have a weakness or you're rubbish at learning new things. It's literally how your brain works under pressure. So what the fuck are you supposed to do? Because there has to be some kind of pressure when you're learning something new, and you're right. But what we're aiming for is something that is desirably difficult. When people are looking at changing and learning something new, they usually bounce between two extremes. We have look at something that is not difficult, and then we have stuff that is too difficult. The problem for so many people is they'll go from nothing to everything, back to nothing, back to everything, back to nothing, back to everything. You get what I'm saying? Where in reality, we want to be just here, this desirably difficult part. The sweet spot, where the challenge is engaging enough for you to grow and learn, but not so threatening that your stress response shuts the whole thing down. The steady approach is that sweet spot for most people who are still learning the skills to lose fat. There's lower pressure, there's more flexibility, space for them to experiment, make mistakes and learn from their mistakes and move on. Over time, just like training a muscle, your capacity grows. What first felt difficult will eventually become easier, and then it will become automatic. Your confidence in your ability to do those things grows. That's when you're ready to take on more. So if you've been trying the aggressive approach, but it never sticks, if you're still learning the basics like tracking your calories, hitting your protein targets, doing your training and getting your steps in, then the steady approach is probably the best option for you. If you want to actually get results and not just lose them in 3 months' time, then take the steady approach. And look, if you're listening to me say this and you're getting annoyed, like, give yourself a break. You didn't pop out of the womb knowing exactly how to lose weight, understand your portion sizes and all this sort of thing. So please give yourself a break. Everybody has to learn these things, and everybody starts off at the same point of not knowing what the fuck a calorie is or how to track or any of these things. And the steady approach is the perfect environment for you to develop those skills and develop the habits that are going to help you lose fat and keep it off. And I know that is a hard pill to swallow, but hey, you can just go ahead and repeat the same crash diet again and again for the rest of your life. Be my guest. Now, for those of you that have already developed the skills, you know how to track your calories accurately, you understand nutrition, you get your movement in, and you get to the gym regularly, but you've just lost that momentum. Maybe you've been pretty consistent for quite a while, but those flexible days have slowly become more and more regular. There's no real urgency, there's no finish line, just kind of this vague goal that's been sat there for way longer than you would like to admit. This is where the aggressive approach, or what I call a focus cycle, shines the best. A focus cycle is simply just a defined period of more intentional action. There's a beginning and an end point, and that changes everything psychologically. When you know there's a finish line, you plan better. You go all in because you know it's temporary. You stop falling into the I'll start again on Monday trap, because there is no indefinite commitment to sustain. And when it ends, you rest guilt-free. You maintain what you've built, and then you decide if you want to go again. No more all or nothing, just in for a while and then take a breath, pause for a minute. This allows you to learn the most important thing for anyone who wants to lose weight and keep it off for the rest of their life. And that is maintenance. How to maintain the results that you get. So now I'm going to show you exactly how to plan your very own focus cycle. First thing you need to do is set a time frame. I would recommend 4 weeks for your first focus cycle. Remember, you're upping the intensity here. We don't want to go in for 6 to 8 weeks too long before you've even done your first focus cycle. 4 weeks is a really good amount of time for you to push yourself, learn from it, but also get good results. The second thing is setting an outcome goal. This is what I would call your North Star. This is the driving force, the thing that you are aiming to achieve at the end of this 4-week focus cycle. You could aim for something like a goal outcome, like I want to lose 4 pounds by the end of this focus cycle, or I want to have like 80 to 90% adherence throughout the entire focus cycle. Once you've got your outcome goal, you then need to create your process goals, or the actions that you're going to take. These are things like your calories, your protein, your step count, and hitting your training sessions. Remember, these are the actual actions and the things that you're going to do that are going to get you to the goal that you're trying to achieve. Once you have your process goals, you then need to set your non-negotiables. The two that I would recommend would be never miss twice, meaning if you go over your calories one day, which is probably going to happen, make sure that it doesn't happen 2 days in a row. Or if you miss your training session, again, make sure it doesn't happen 2 days in a row. And the second would be your step count. If you miss your training session, you make sure that your step count is hit, non-negotiable. And lastly, you need to set a review point. This is right at the end of your focus cycle where you're going to sit down and ask yourself, how did that go? Did it go as well as I thought it was going to? What did I do well? What didn't I do well? Would I want to do that again? It's that simple. That's how you plan a focus cycle. If you want my focus cycle planning guide, you can go in the description below and you can download it completely for free. It will take you step by step exactly how to plan your focus cycle in greater detail than what I've just done there. The goal here is not to overcomplicate it. It's actually the exact opposite. You're just giving yourself structure, a timeline and a deadline to hit, and clarity on exactly what is expected of you. So which one should you do? And honestly, if you're not sure, then I recommend that you do a focus cycle. And you might be thinking, hang on Sam, you told me that that might not be the right thing for me because I haven't developed the skills and it's difficult. True, but the best way to find out is to give it a go. And if you fail, then at least you've learned something and then you can make the right decision and do the steady approach. If you can do a focus cycle while maintaining 80% adherence, then great. If you can't, anything lower than 80%, you need to go back to the drawing board and do the slow and steady approach. 80% adherence in days would be 23 out of those 28 days you were in your calories, hitting your protein target, and going to the gym and doing everything you said you were going to do. That means that you have 5 days of flexibility. Now, that doesn't mean you have 5 days of saying fuck it and eating as much as possible. It just means you have 5 days of flexibility where you can eat more calories. Now, if you can hit 80% or more adherence, then fantastic. You can do a focus cycle. If you really struggle hitting 23 out of 28 days, that is not a failure. That is information for you. It's telling you that right now, your foundations and the skills that you have aren't solid enough to do an aggressive fat loss phase. But that's great news because now you know that the best option for you is to go steady for a little while, build those solid foundation floors and build those skills and habits that are going to help you get to the point where you could do something more aggressive. Or as a wise man once said,
the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
And look, I know that this is a lot, but I didn't want to just leave you with another it depends answer that leaves you just scratching your head thinking, well, I still don't know what to do. I want you to finish this video knowing what step you're going to take, whether that is to go steady or whether that is to give a focus cycle, that aggressive approach, a go. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comment section below because I read all of them. And if you like this video and you found it helpful, you know what to do. That's it from me. Ciao.